how do you avoid, or do you avoid, getting totally black-pilled and saying, oh, well, the libs have all the power, all hope is lost, I might as well sit on my couch and eat potato chips, full of seed oils?
It's not really... Yeah, and those seed oils are really good if you want to get estrogen and grow breasts. But my point being, this is what I'm saying is it's impossible not to get black-pilled too when you realize guys like Dan Crenshaw that say they're conservatives are giving, billions of dollars to the Ukraine. So for me, I mean, how do we fight that sense of like, black pill? Like, how do we, get out of that mindset? It's difficult for me, but at the same time, that's the harsh reality in which we live in. The government, I don't think, has our best interest, and it's just kind of living positive and creating some sort of future that you like. Because what happens is they trick us into playing their reindeer games. They trick you into wearing the mask. They trick you into getting vaccinated with the free hamburger. And if you don't fall for their tricks, then you can live a happy life. So getting black-pilled, it's impossible not to have that feeling sometimes. But there's a lot of hope and joy with being awake to realizing, breaking out of that cognitive dissonance, knowing that the government, you might think they have your best interest, but really they don't.
So you mentioned Crenshaw, and I saw your video on Crenshaw, and I thought that was one of the examples where I thought, isn't this a little too far? Is Crenshaw more moderate than, I don't know, than us and probably a lot of the listeners? Yes, but I like the guy personally, and I just, is that an example where you think, it's a little too impolite. The guy's a wounded veteran, even if I don't like his politics. Or do you think, no, screw him, I don't like him, and, I'll say whatever.
And I don't want to be insensitive to veterans. I respect every single man and woman in a military uniform. But at the end of the day, the whole entire military, the military-industrial complex and the imperialistic mindset that the American military has is disgusting. I mean, I think about the millions of people that died in the Middle East. I mean, World War II, I think, was the last justifiable war that we've had. So when I look at people like Dan Crenshaw and the other veterans that I talk to that have been injured, they become staunchly anti-war. I'm a conflict interventionalist. I will never say that war is good. And I know that's not necessarily a conservative viewpoint, but I don't think as human beings right now, we're fighting a proxy war against Russia and Ukraine over the Donbass region and for them not wanting to go into NATO. That's all we have to do. It's just say they won't join NATO and keep the Donbass region autonomous where they can choose whatever country they want to go to. And we're saying no because we are benefiting from a proxy war because it's not people that run the country. It is multinational corporations like Halliburton, like Pfizer, that can buy and sell these politicians on both sides like toilet paper through their political action committee. Dan Crenshaw is a guy that kicked out service members from being in the military through the National Defense Authorization Act that weren't vaccinated, kicked out service members in the Army Reserve that weren't vaccinated. So if he really cared about Americans, he would actually, care about these military guys that don't want to take a vaccine that was tested on 8 mice. My point being, it doesn't matter because these corporations are running and calling the shots. We're not being ran by humans. You think freaking Halliburton could be empathetic when they drop a drone strike on a wedding? When we left Afghanistan, Joe Biden killed 4 children. Nobody says a word about it. So, it's just, if these were human beings running the country, then they would be more empathetic to other human beings. But at the end of the day, because these are CEOs, we live in a corporatocracy and not a real country anymore, sadly.
No, I don't dispute a lot of that. I guess the question I'm asking tactically is, in order to make that point, are you saying that the situation is just so dire and the public communication is so staged that it is necessary to say and do things that are impolite or rude or immoral even? I mean, because I just think, when I think about the Crenshaw thing, I think, and given, I do like the guy at a personal level, but obviously we have very different views on Ukraine, he and I, and probably on a lot of other issues too. Or I think about even AOC, who I don't like at a personal level. And I think, it's one of your most popular videos, and it's one of those things where you think, this is rude, this isn't right, I shouldn't, but you're kind of like giggling off in the corner because it's kind of funny. But you think, I don't know, I couldn't bring myself to say to a woman like, hey, you've got a big booty and you're my favorite.
Big booty Latina. Well, that's why I'm insane, Michael. And listen, this is the other problem is because if you look at the top movies from the 90s, it's like Shawshank Redemption, American Pie, Pulp Fiction. If you look at the top movies of 2021, it is literally, other than Top Gun, the highest grossing movie was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So we need some political incorrectness. We need somebody saying you got a big booty. And I know that that's not the nicest thing and probably not it's a little unbecoming of a gentleman. At the same time, it is harmless. I am complimenting her. She is Jenny from the block. I mean, I know she's not Jennifer Lopez, but she's from that. You don't think she's ever been catcalled by a construction worker? I get catcalled in New York City. So if I do, and I'm an imbecile, then I'm sure she's been catcalled. So this is the point, though, is when I go after guys like Crenshaw, this is his problem, is that the NPCs that are talking about, his ego is so big, and same with AOC, is that they have to react. Now, when I made fun of Eric Swalwell and I said, oh, did you and Fang Fang, did you guys, what kind of sex did you have with Fang Fang? Or, did you sleep with Fang Fang? He was smart. He's dead silent, kept his head down. Adam Kinzinger, same thing. I made fun of him for January 6th. But these other politicians that let me play with them in the video game of life, they shouldn't get in the mud with a pig like me, Michael. That's their problem. So it's just Dan Crenshaw. If he didn't play ball so much, then I wouldn't have to make him persona non grata, and public enemy number one. So it's just if they were a little more down to earth. That's the other problem, though, Michael, is that we have a down to earth problem. Is these politicians, as soon as they get elected, they have this air of authority where they think they're better than everybody, and that's not the case. Everybody has issues. Everybody is the same, and that's like a socialistic kind of mindset. But really, we all have problems. We all have issues, and nobody is really necessarily better than anybody else.
Well, that is the best explanation I've heard of this. Is basically you're going out there to just see who will take the bait. And I think you're right about Swalwell. I mean, I think you're right. The fact that Swalwell just kept on moving. He said, there's no win here. Obviously, the moment I react, I'm going to lose. And he kept going. It's probably smart. And some of the other guys, I mean, I think you did one to Jerry Nadler. Is that right?
No, that was the Fleckus, I think, Jared Nadler.
Fleckus did Jerry Nadler, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, and I've yelled and I've, Beto O'Rourke, and you get in their politician's face, and it's better for them not, like, I just have to use that quote, you don't want to get in the mud with a pig like me. But this is the other thing, is we need to humanize these politicians, and we do need to call them out. Now, you saw these guys that are actually liberal guys that called out AOC for being a war hawk, and that gets 10 million views because people want to see these politicians humanized. And so that's what I try to do. Is it's not even that I'm really trying to be necessarily mean. If you notice a lot of my content, I try to make myself the butt of the joke because I don't even really want to be mean. I'm trying to make fun of myself by astroturfing as these crazy people, or like the status quo of the left, like saying my wife's boyfriend Ontarius, yada yada yada. I have a lot of little things that I can just use that is basically become a symbol of the left. And that's the thing, is we've all become caricatures of ourselves. There's people on the far right that are annoying. There's people on the far left that are annoying. But for all these people that talk about QAnon, they don't ever talk about the blue anon for 2016 where they said the election was stolen. So it's calling out hypocrisy is my point, Michael. And that's what I want to do, is just try to call out the people, especially the mainstream media that's hypocritical, and the politicians. I've yet to meet very few. Marjorie Taylor Greene that I've become friends with, she's not very hypocritical. And Thomas Massey that I've interacted with, a few of the ones that I've interacted with that have been nice. Even Madison Cawthorn wasn't very hypocritical. I feel like I've dealt with a lot of people that very few of them are actually good. The majority of them are egomaniacs.